Police kept this sociopath behind the bars, away from people. But the mercenaries forced him to break the prison by brutally killing his brother. On that day, he played bloodiest game of revenge that will shock you. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I believe you are my friend, and I would really love to know your review about my content. Dylan Forrester, just a few months away from finishing his parole, gets a birthday card from his brother Sean, inviting him to Guardian Island. "Can't wait to see you," the card says, "once you're done with the whole criminal thing." Real heartwarming stuff. Later, Sean sends another card for Thanksgiving, asking for help with house renovations. But then, out of nowhere, Dylan gets hit with the news that Sean has suddenly passed away. And just as he's processing that surprise, there's an armed guy in his apartment, which, to be fair, is probably more shocking than bad news by mail. Moments later, the SWAT team busts in, led by Special Agent Shaughnessy. Dylan is nowhere to be found, but they do stumble across the armed guy, now thoroughly beaten up, looking like he picked a fight with a bear. They also find Dylan's meds, which probably means he's not exactly on the model citizen list. Shaughnessy heads off to see Dylan's doctor, Dr. Alderwood, and gets the rundown on his past. Apparently, Dylan once put someone into a coma, not exactly the kind of guy you invite to a dinner party. The doc insists Dylan's a changed man, but Shaughnessy isn't so sure. "This guy has danger written all over him," she says. She also digs into his family background and finds out about Dylan's younger brother, Professor Sean Forrester, who had quit his job to start an inn. Yeah, because nothing says retirement plan like running a bed and breakfast on a remote island. Shaughnessy, naturally, sets her sights on Guardian Island for the funeral the next day. Meanwhile, Dylan shows up on the island, ready to pay his respects. After an awkward check-in with the inn receptionist, Joe, he practices his condolences in front of the mirror because, apparently, being emotionally distant doesn't make for good funeral small talk. Eventually, he heads downstairs and bumps into his mom, Linda, who is not thrilled to see him. She storms out, leaving Dylan to pay his respects alone. As he looks over Sean's body, he notices some weird stuff like dirt under Sean's nails and a scar on his neck. Kind of suspicious for a simple scaffolding accident, right? Sean's wife, Susan, brushes it off with a casual, "Oh, he just fell off some scaffold." Sure, because that's how people usually end up looking like they fought a zombie. Later on, Dylan turns down a drink from Sean's buddy, Massey, which gets Sheriff McCoy's attention. Meanwhile, the sheriff gets a call about Dylan violating parole, and things start heating up. Dylan retreats to his room and calls Dr. Alderwood, who calmly reminds him to take his lithium pills. "Gotta let some feelings through, Dylan," she says, like it's the easiest thing in the world. Feelings? Who needs them? But Alderwood also reminds him that mending things with his family might not be such a bad idea. Dylan isn't too sure, but he'll give it a shot. Sheriff McCoy, on the other hand, is already looking into Dylan's background, while Dylan ends up bonding with Freddie, Sean's son. Freddie's heard all the wild stories about his uncle, but seems pretty intrigued by the idea that Dylan doesn't care about fear or other people's feelings. "Wait, so you're basically a superhero?" Freddie asks. "No," Dylan replies, "I'm just really bad at things." Freddie buys it and shows him the submarine he was building with his dad. At this point, Sheriff McCoy has all the info he needs to arrest Dylan. He heads over to the inn and cuffs him, despite Dylan trying to explain that therapy and medication have totally changed. Linda, of course, is not buying any of it. The sheriff takes him to a bunker on the island, locks him up, and mentions that the FBI is on the way. Meanwhile, he hears a boat approaching and assumes it's the feds. But when he steps outside, it's not the FBI at all. It's a bunch of armed mercenaries. As if things couldn't get worse, McCoy gets shot, leaving Dylan's parole problems as the least of his worries. The mercenaries, led by Cole, because every villain needs a basic name, spread across the island, taking hostages, including Linda, Susan, and the Instat. The situation is looking pretty grim, but even news that the FBI is on their way doesn't shake Cole. Meanwhile, in a classic action hero move, Dylan manages to knock out Weir and escape from the bunker, with Joe tagging. She's clearly impressed by his not-so-legal skills. As they sneak around the island, Shaughnessy, on her way there, starts to wonder why Dylan left a witness alive in his apartment. He's never done that before, she thinks. Maybe he's trying to be nice for once. Back on the island, Cole is trying to figure out where Sean hid whatever it is they're looking for, while Hugh, one of the kitchen staff, tries to make a run. Bad idea. Cole has him taken out by a sniper, and Dylan realizes it's time to hide in the trees with Joe. Inside the inn, Cole's team is combing through Freddie's room, and Blanchard, another mercenary, is left in charge of the hostages. Meanwhile, Dylan sneaks into the kitchen, grabs a knife, and sets a trap. When Blanchard shows up, Dylan takes him down like he's in a cheap action movie. Elsewhere, Cole finishes off Weir, who's still suffering from Dylan's earlier attack. With the house now sealed off by steel shutters, Cole realizes they've left Blanchard inside, but they can't reach him. Dylan, still playing the reluctant hero, tries to convince his mom that the mercenaries didn't follow him to the island. "This wasn't my idea of a family reunion," he jokes, but Linda's not laughing. Dr. Alderwood advises Dylan to avoid giving in to his natural impulses. After hanging up, Dylan questions Blanchard, who is tied up trying to figure out why they came to the island. Blanchard stays quiet, frustrating Dylan, who heads back to his family. Linda and Massey are still unsure about having him around, but Susan defends him, saying he saved their lives. Just as Pike sneaks up to a window, Massey grabs a shotgun, and Dylan helps him pull the trigger, hitting Pike in the eye. Pike retreats, and Cole orders a sniper to take out Massey. But they soon realize they can't shoot through the house. It's got armor plating. Linda, still furious, demands Dylan leave before more danger comes their way. Meanwhile, Shaughnessy's colleague Wagner gives her an update on Sean's financial troubles. Turns out, despite being in heavy debt, Sean was able to buy Guardian Island, a former World War II naval base. As Dylan prepares to leave, he talks with Susan, who reveals that Sean was fixing up the lighthouse by himself when he died. Dylan, curious, follows the trail behind the inn to the lighthouse. At the same time, Cole sends Felix and Pike to get their machine. Dylan hides and watches as they retrieve it from their boat with shovels. Back at the inn, they discover a note telling them Dylan has left. Figuring he's probably at the boat, Cole has his sniper take aim, but Dylan dodges the shot and escapes on the boat. Felix and Pike, using their machine, begin scanning the grounds of the... Inspired by another call with Dr. Alderwood, Dylan decides to deal with things one step at a time and heads toward the lighthouse, where Cole's sniper is stationed. Cole, back at the inn, shouts that none of the hostages mean anything to him, but offers a deal to anyone who can help him find what he's looking for. Linda, realizing Cole isn't after Dylan, starts to wonder what he's really after. Meanwhile, Shaughnessy gets word that a luxury yacht has been stolen from a nearby marina. The captain who dropped Dylan off at the island worked at the same marina. Dylan, sneaking back to the inn, sees Pike and Felix using their seismic testing equipment, deepening the mystery of what they're searching for. Pike attempts to force his way into the inn, but Dylan climbs an exterior ladder and makes his way to the cellar. Inside, Pike frees Blanchard. Cole senses movement just as Dylan sneaks inside. Dylan finds Blanchard in Freddy's room and sends Freddy downstairs while he takes on Blanchard. Dylan engages in a brutal fight with Blanchard, faking a move toward a broken mirror before fatally stabbing him with Freddy's toy submarine. After Blanchard's taken care of, Dylan heads downstairs and shoots Pike in the arm, forcing him to run outside and report to Cole. Dylan follows and confronts Cole, who mocks him for relying on medication and therapy. Cole lets slip that Sean's death was connected to something on the island. When Cole realizes Dylan has no clue what he's talking about, he orders the sniper to kill him, only to discover the sniper has already been taken out. Dylan rushes back inside and shares what Cole told him. Combined with the grease under Sean's nails, Dylan realizes Sean was working on something big, and he suspects Hugh is one of Cole's men sent to spy on the project. They head to Sean's office in the wine cellar, where Dylan finds a hidden door leading to a secret passage. As they venture in, Shaughnessy learns Cole stole the yacht. She recognizes him as a high-level fixer and Dylan's former employer from when he was discharged from the SEALs. Shaughnessy assumes Cole and Dylan are working together again, but she's wrong. On the island, Pike and Felix continue their search, while Dylan and Massey stumble upon a Japanese submarine from World War II, revealing the reason behind Sean's death. Felix finds evidence of a tunnel connecting the inn to the lighthouse. Massey shows Dylan Yoshida's gold, treasure that was stolen during the... Inside the wine cellar, Cole attacks Joe and discovers that Linda and Susan have found their way down the tunnel. Pike and Felix open fire, but Linda fights Cole to give Susan and Freddy a chance to escape. Massey gets injured but follows Dylan onto the submarine. After some quick advice from Dr. Alderwood, Dylan uses the submarine's deck guns to fight back. Massey struggles, but Dylan manages to take out Pike. An explosion kills Felix. Cole arrives just in time to see that Dylan has found the gold. Massey tries to help by shooting at Cole, but he dies in the process. With Linda at gunpoint, Cole offers Dylan a deal: grab the gold and leave the island before the FBI arrives. Dylan refuses and is forced to help Cole gather the gold. As they carry it, Dylan throws the gold into the water. Furious, Cole lets go of Linda, and she grabs onto the edge of the platform while Dylan and Cole fight. Dylan, proving he's not the greedy villain Cole painted him to be, finally kills Cole and pulls Linda to safety. Realizing Dylan isn't all bad, Linda gives her son a heartfelt hug. As Dylan leaves the island the next morning, he calls Dr. Alderwood, saying he'll protect his family from now on.